Blue Beetle 11 by Josh Trujillo and art by Adrian Gutierrez. Um, and yeah, so this is a culmination of everything that's happened over the last 10 issues, and it starts with the Horizon questioning if they should stay in Palmera City. So the council talks to Uli, who's the one, Horizon girl that's been close with Jaime. Her dad sits on the council. They give her the task of, if you can prove to us why we should stay, we'll stay. If not, all the things that have happened, we're going to go find somewhere else to be. And so this gives us a device to follow Jaime around on a day where his parents and sister surprise him to a visit to Palmera City. And he is trying to entertain them, but he's also, trying to meet back up with the Horizon to figure out what they're going to do. And so they go to the zoo, and he's, trying to tell his dad that, like, it's been the hardest year of his life. But, and he looks at this tiger, and he feels like, he hasn't told his dad what had happened with the blood beetle or the blood scarab. And he's like, yeah, that thing's a killer. It needs to be out in the open. It needs to not be, in here into the zoo. And his sister's like, oh no, like, look, it's beautiful, and it's not that scary. And Jaime's just sitting there, like, not knowing how to feel because he feels like they're talking about him. And so eventually he kind of talks around it with his parents, and his dad is like, look, at the end of the day, he tells him, like, when I first met your mom, we were dating, and I wasn't the best boyfriend, but she turned around and she gave me a second chance, and I've made it up to her every day since. So, whatever you're going through, just a little bit of communication, whether that's between your friends or, your scarab or whatever. And he goes, geez, Dad, how'd you know? And he's like, well, it's a dad's job. Right. And so, while Jaime's taking his parents out, Victoria Cord is addressing the board with Ted, but Ted's in his full Blue Beetle uniform, and they decide that because of her little incident with the what was that robot called, with the pinnacle, that they're stripping her from the board. And as they're doing this, Ted's like, you did this while I was gone, and I'm thankful for it, but you've taken this company in a direction that I can't abide by. And as she goes to turn to leave, detectives are there, and that they're arresting her for the attempted murder of Brenda, who's one of Jaime's friends that worked for her. So when the Pinnacle stuff had happened, Brenda had got caught up in all of that, and the police are using that as a means to bring her in, and Victoria starts, to push back, but Ted's like, no, you've taken this company in a bad direction. You have to face consequences. And that makes Victoria completely lose it. And, she goes, you know what? If these are my consequences, so be it. But I was right about everything, about the Pinnacle, the Horizon, the Scarab, everything. I'm never going to give up fighting for humanity, Ted. And it's very ominous with the way that they have her go. So Brenda is having to essentially, she's in physical therapy because of the attack by Pinnacle. She's having a hard time walking. So Zamara, who was the gold beetle, Dynastis, and Paco have started dating, and he's going to move down to El Salvador, where she's from, which Brenda's not too happy about. But as they're having this conversation and Brenda's feeling a little bit sad, this character pops up who I'm not that familiar with. Looks like a scarab, but I don't think is. It looks like a praying mantis, and Dynastis goes into fight mode, and goes and brings this praying mantis down. It's a really fun action sequence because the colors here. So Dynastis is gold and black, but the praying mantis is teal and red, and so when they start fighting, there's a lot of interchange in the background colors. So a lot of oranges when it's Dynasties, and then a lot of purples and greens for praying mantis. So it looks real good, but Dynasties ends up winning. The next part goes to Tracy 13 at the Oblivion Bar, who was dating him as Jaime. And Madame Xanadu says, the trials for Jaime have just begun. And we get this really cool, like, futurescape that kind of reminds me of, you remember in the Sinestro Corps War, where they seeded the War of Light, and we saw all the different forms of we see Jaime leading these other Beetles into battle against what looked like the Reach. So it looks like the Reach are leading an invasion. And they have their own Beetles, right? But it's Natita, who is the green one. They have the Blood Scarab. They have Dynasties, who looks like she's might be pregnant. Uli's there, Starfire, and then Ted in the Beetle. So it's like all the characters that we've gotten to know leading up against the Reach. And Madame Xanadu tells Tracy 13, like, we have to bring the Blood Scare back. They can't do it without him. I've looked into the future. And Tracy's like, I don't know if this is a good idea because, Jaime killed him, and that might not work out well. And yeah, the issue ends with that conversation that I already jumped to between Jaime and his dad. And Uli shows up and lets Jaime know that the Reach are going to stay. It's because of him. And she gives him a kiss, which completely shocks him. And he's like, you know what? You always keep me on my toes. Thank you for that. And he looks at the time, realizes that he's late, and he flies down to meet up with Brenda and Paco. And he ends up at Palmyra State University, and he's decided to enroll. He's going to stay, work at his aunt's diner still, and start school. So we went from graduation day to now Jaime enrolled in college. And it ends with this really nice page of basically Blue Beetle, that he's part of, when you're Blue Beetle, you're part of a family, part of a legacy, and this is only the beginning. And it's got him doing like this fun little pose with Palmyra City behind him. And yeah, so I hope there's more of this, because I'm enjoying Trujillo on the character, and it's a shame that this is like the last issue. I'm gonna double check to make sure. Yeah, there's no more solicited. So yeah, a lot of affection for this. A nice send-off. It feels a little bit rushed in parts, but Trujillo always got the character interactions down. But yeah, so I'm gonna give this an 8.